Hello, dear listener. Welcome once again to the Fit at Home podcast, where it comes to getting the best shape of your life. There's no place like home. As always, I'm your host, Matt Schifferly of the RedDeltaProject.com, along with my guest host here, Al Painter. Al, how are you doing and what's new in your world these days?
Oh, life is good, my friend Matt from Colorado. I am excited. I've got a March 15th core strength for cyclists workshop coming up, and I'll have information for that, Zoomy link and whatnot coming out lately or soon. Trying some new things, working out, binge watching some amazing comedies, and enjoying what is now high 60s weather and sunshine.
Oh, fantastic. We're supposed to be getting snow later on here in Colorado. I swear, the weather here is insane. It was 70 degrees yesterday, and now we're getting snow. It's something you just can't plan for. It's literally, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, and it will change on you. But that is one of the things to always kind of keep in mind when it comes to our workouts and working out at home and stuff, is we've got to be willing to adapt our circumstances or adapt to our circumstances, because they can change so fast. And, you know, the resources we have and the time we have, the more rigid and structured we try to keep things in our approach to diet and exercise, the more it seems we run against the rocks of daily life. And I've personally found it's much better to have a far more flexible approach to diet and exercise, rather than saying, I'm going to be super strict and do it the right way all the time. And, you know, life demands be damned. I don't care. You know, I'm just going to stay on this straight and narrow path. And I find that's much more stressful than anything else, even more stressful than actually doing the right or the diet and the exercise habits.
Agreed.
Fantastic. So let's jump right on in here. Let's start off with our workout segments. Our number one tip that you can use in your workouts for the next week to improve your workouts and make better gains. Al, what do you got for us?
Well, my workout tip for the next week, so you can have some better gains, was set up by either an inadvertent or a brilliant, somewhat of a segue on your part of being fluid and letting water flow downhill. Don't try to push it back up with exercise and working out at home. I'm going with a PE for parents theme this week. All the parents that are listening to the show who are at home with kids working and all the other craziness that goes on with how we're living right now, I'm going to help you out today. So my tip for you is to work out in 10, 12, 15-minute blocks for the day. Okay, so just from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, get a total of 10 to 15 minutes of movement. Okay, it could be 2-minute blocks here, it could be a 3-minute block, could be 5-minute block, or if you have luck on your side and all the planets have lined up, you can do all 15 minutes at once. Because all you have to do is consistently move. Just stay in the habit, keep the habit going. And if you make it small, digestible chunks, it's so much easier to just flow through your day. And it makes everything a lot more manageable.
Yes, as you got the kiddos there in the background. Because, yeah, when you're working out at home, when you're eating at home, when you're doing things at home, you're not an army of one. You know, you've got your kids, you've got things going on. Hey, you've got a number of things that you also have to work all around. And those things don't care about your goals to get six-pack abs. They don't care if you're trying to get in a workout. You know, life is constantly happening. You can't say time out life for an hour and a half. I'm going to go do this. And then you get back and say, okay, life time in, and everything's hunky-dory. Sometimes we have to be willing to go in those smaller chunks, but they still work and they're still effective. Absolutely.
There's a bit of a mind shift to that, or mindset shift to that as well, in terms of focusing on what you can do, right? Like, for instance, when I'm doing the dishes and I know I'm crunched for time and I don't have a lot of leeway in my day, rather than thinking, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do A, B, and C. It's like, okay, well, here's the deal. This is what you can do. And my wife is brilliant of reminding me, what would you tell somebody that you train who doesn't have any time? I'm like, at 2, wife, well played. I would tell them, hey, you're doing the dishes, stand on one leg. try to stand on one leg as you put things away, because you're still working lateral lines and rotational chains and single leg stability, and you're still getting benefit of movement and connection from the brain down. So focus on what you can do. If you got a lonely suspension strap in the backyard or whatever, go outside, do 5 reps, come back in. If you can't get back to it for an hour later because things are going on, all right, go back out, do 5 more reps, come back in. Chunk it. Give yourself permission to go slow. Give yourself permission to not be so rigid and structured and hold on to what workouts used to be, because what they used to be are no longer what they are. So, don't push the water uphill, because it's not going to happen. Go and flow with what's going on right now.
I love it. Being flexible in that regard is it's such a game changer from a stress and a lifestyle perspective. And I know some people will say, yeah, but how do I know if it's working, and can 5 reps or 5 minutes really do anything? And that coincides with my workout tip of the week, which is the principle that I always give people when it comes to programming and knowing if their workout's going to be effective. Because one of the most fundamental principles of how exercise works is that our bodies change and adapt for the sake of being able to accommodate whatever functional demand we're asking of them. Or to put it in simpler terms, you gain that which you challenge. Okay, so people are all the time saying, how do I get stronger grip? Challenge your grip strength. How do I get stronger? Challenge your strength. How do I improve my stability? Challenge your stability. You gain that which you challenge. So if you're ever looking at something and saying, will this work, or how does this work and stuff, you just simply say, is this going to challenge the qualities that I'm trying to gain, that I'm trying to develop? If it challenges that quality, then yes, it will be effective to at least some degree. Even if it's 5 seconds, if it's challenging something, it will stimulate an adaptation. But if you can work out for an hour and a half, but you're not necessarily further challenging various qualities, then all that workout isn't actually training your body to change and adapt to a higher level. You gain that which you challenge. And that gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility, because I don't care how you're challenging it. I don't care how you're doing it, what equipment you're using, what your workout routine looks like. It's like standing on one leg. Hey, if you're in a workout in your spandex and you got the workout music blaring and you're challenging your stability by doing who knows what on one leg, versus if I'm not doing the dishes and I'm trying to stay on one leg while I put the dishes away, the challenge is the same. Therefore, the results will be the same, regardless of all of the other influences. And there's my tip. You gain that which you challenge. Challenge it, and you will gain it. Fantastic. So moving on to our next segment, number 2, we talk about diet. What can we do to eat at our best when we're at home and improve our healthy lifestyle? Al, take it away.
Well, here's my tip for the week: to eat your best at home for a healthy lifestyle. And I'm going to help you with the challenge of the game. So once again, you set me up perfectly, sir. I appreciate that fastball belt high right down the middle. I'm going to help parents this week with my nutrition tip by helping them to do more repetitions of push-aways, meaning push yourself away from the table. We have kids who love to eat very tasty things, because kids have, they have 3 food groups. They have the quesadilla food group, they have the pizza food group, right? And then they have the hamburger food group. That's it. Those 3 food groups, pretty much, right?
Don't forget the ice cream food group. You got to have a balanced diet there, Al. You need the ice cream food group.
Cookies and cream, my friend. Cookies and cream.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And real quick, don't ever cut the square sandwich and give it to the triangle child, and vice versa, because you're just setting yourself up for a bowl to hurt. It's terrible. Don't ever do that, because it's not like mommy does it. It's a whole thing. Anyway, don't eat what's on the plate, right? So when dinner is done, your dinner is done. Try to leave the food that's on the plate that your kids had there. I know how tempting it is. It is so difficult when they're eating really tasty stuff. you go to a restaurant, you bring food home, and they're eating things, and it's just still there, and it's looking at you like, "Hey, come on, put me away." And you have to try to resist that. Just try it for a couple of days in a row. Don't go cold turkey if you like doing that all the time. But breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can take in a lot more calories that you might not be able to get rid of with movement throughout the day, especially if you're challenged and stressed. Mm-hmm. And if you can just leave the food on the plate, that the kiddos are there and not eat it, it's going to help you quite a bit to stay on top of feeling good and moving well.
Outstanding. And yeah, that stuff adds up way faster than people think it does. Like just a few extra bites here, and it's a couple of chicken nuggets, and I'll finish their orange juice. And you do that at a couple meals a day over the course of a week or a month, that adds up to basically extra meals worth of calories. And it can be a few extra pounds, or even as much as 5 to 10 pounds by the end of the year, that now you've got to do so much more work to potentially work it off. And yeah. So my tip kind of goes along the same idea of recognizing the limited ability to resist certain foods through just blatant willpower and self-control. This is a big mistake that I used to make back in the day. Is I would buy a lot of like a big thing of ice cream, or one of my weaknesses is licorice and Twizzlers and stuff. And I'd buy this big thing and be like, I'm going to use willpower and not eat too much of this. And of course it would stick for maybe a day or two. And then I'd have a bad day, or it's movie night with a girlfriend or something. And boom, I plow through the entire thing in one sitting, right? And the lesson here for the week is that, willpower is good in short bursts, but ultimately, if you want to eat better, curate your environment to promote a healthy diet. Because if you've got a lot of junk food and a lot of tempting foods that you kind of lose control over in your environment, you're going to be fighting that uphill battle. Like you said, you're pushing water uphill. It's just not going to work. But if you can curate your environment to include more healthy foods, a lot of foods that are ready to eat, and the direction of a healthier diet, it's going to be so much easier to eat very well. And then the foods that are way tempting that you can't really control yourself over, you either have them in very limited quantities, kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like I have a candy cupboard that is really way in the back. Like I often forget that I've got it even there. And the other thing is I oftentimes don't even let that stuff in my environment at all. And if I do want it, I've got to go out and make a special trip. Like my weakness personally is like creamy, cool stuff, like cream puffs and stuff. Dude, you buy me a box of cream puffs from Costco, I will eat the entire thing in one day. No joke. It used to actually be when I lived with my friend Nikki, if she was mad at me, she would go and buy a box of these cream puffs and put them like right there on the counter. And I'd be like, I knew I screwed up, by doing whatever, like, cause she knows I'm going to eat the whole thing and I'm going to enjoy it. But then I'm going to be like, damn it. Like, that's not what I want to be doing. That's not what I want to be doing for my diet right now. But I still eat cream puffs from time to time, but I get in the car like Sunday morning, I go to the bakery, I get a cream puff and I take it home and I enjoy it. So it doesn't mean get these foods out of your diet. It means just get it out of the environment. So that way it's not this uphill battle every single day to stick to a healthy diet. Because when you curate your food environment towards a healthy diet, it's so much easier to eat healthy. And you don't feel like you're spending untold amounts of effort every single day trying to, quote, be good. It's just something that happens so much more naturally with a fraction of the effort. So here's the dietary tip of the week. And moving on to our last segment here, our resources segment. This is something that we have found that it comes to a great deal of help in our own diet and workouts that we recommend to you, dear listener. Al, what is your resource tip of the week?
My resource tip of the week is a watch with a timer on it, or a clock with a second hand. And the reason you would want that is because you're going to let it run for a minute, and you're going to inhale for 3 seconds. You're going to hold for 5 seconds, and you're going to exhale for 7 seconds. Parents, if you need a quick reality break, right, like the Southwest commercial, and you want to get away, breathing will take you there. Because let's be honest, sometimes we humans we live with, they know which buttons to push, and then they start pushing those buttons like they're trying to send Morse code. So you have to be able to, okay, time out, world. I'm going to slow you down. Just try it for a minute. Okay, inhale 3, hold 5, exhale 7. If that's something that allows you to sit down and focus, try it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, eventually working up to 5 minutes. If you ever needed a break to just kind of get your head right and and go back into, so my sibling hit me. Well, why did you hit me? Well, because I pulled her hair. I'm like, okay. You realize this is what happens when you start something and somebody else finishes, right? But they get into it. They get into the lizard brain, and it's game, set, match for parental sanity. The way you beat that is you breathe. You breathe. 3, 5, 7. 3, 5, 7. That's it.
Amen. Yeah. Timing stuff is a game changer too, because having to just count is such a tedious thing for the mind to do. You're counting reps and counting breaths and things. And when we set a timer, that takes that part of the concentration right out of the picture. And now you can actually just concentrate on doing the darn thing rather than counting whatever we're trying to focus on. Mm-hmm. So my tips of resources of the week, actually I have two for you, because they kind of go hand in hand. The first resource is, I highly always recommend, whenever someone's setting up a home gym and they're like, what do I use for equipment? My go-to equipment recommendation is a very handy suspension strap system. And particularly, I always recommend the ones from this company called NOSC. There's a link down below if you want to learn more about those. Yes, it is an affiliate link. So if you use that, you will be helping to support the show. But the reason why I always recommend these suspension strap systems is because they give home exercisers a lot of range, and it solves a lot of problems that people have when it comes to getting inadequate strength training. Because time after time, when people are like, I want to set up a home gym or I want to work out at home, they turn to conventional strength methods and like, I'm going to lift weights. And they'll come to me like, okay, this is what I got. And it's like a 5-pound dumbbell and maybe like 2 10s. And that's it. That's their entire range of weights. Or they have a kettlebell, which usually isn't even close to heavy enough. Or they go the other direction and they're like, okay, I've got all set up for my weights. And they've spent thousands of dollars on weights, and they've got a ton of equipment that takes up a ton of space. So it's kind of this back and forth of which are you willing to go with, a very limited or very expensive and very space consuming. And suspension straps solve both of those, because particularly the ones from NOSC are extremely cost efficient. In fact, they're ridiculously inexpensive, but they're still high quality, still made very well. The owner of the company actually makes them by hand. And they also solve a lot of the space issues because they take nothing to hang up. But the versatility of these things in both the exercise selection and the range of resistance is phenomenal. You can take any type of activity, go from ridiculously easy to ridiculously hard, and you can mimic most any type of exercise you would normally do in a gym or with a weight machine. In fact, I often refer to suspension straps as basically a portable weight machine. Whatever you would do on weight machines, you can do with suspension straps that cost a fraction of the cost, and they take up a fraction of the space, and they're a heck of a lot easier to use. So that's the first resource, is those straps. And again, the link is down below. In addition to that link, there's a link down to a video that I made several months ago, which is basically a suspension strap exercise library. Now, it's one video. It's one big long video. It's like 30 minutes long or so, but there's timestamps in the description. So if you want to go and say, okay, what kind of exercises can I do for my abs, or which ones for my hips and stuff, that's all in the description. But that single video will give you the bulk of the most effective exercises you can do with a simple set of suspension straps to work your entire body, work every major muscle group, give you lots of options and all the points that you need to know to use it as well. So those are my resources for the week: NOSC suspension straps and the Red Delta Project suspension video library. The links are down below in the description. All right, Al, so we're wrapping things up here. What have you got for words of wisdom to leave us off for the week?
That's a loaded question. Words of wisdom. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Realize that right now is a big time of adjustment, and it's going to continue to be a big time for an adjustment. So if you need to sleep for another 5 minutes in the morning and you can get up at 5:25 instead of 5:20, okay, it's all right. It's okay. Give yourself a break. Parents, realize we're all doing the best we can. The kids aren't going to be ruined. It's good. We're okay. And just relax, try to enjoy it. Time of year is coming where you get outside, try to do more family oriented things and just try to enjoy.
Fantastic. And yeah, I agree with that. Like, you can't build a positive result when you're coming from a negative place. So anything that you're doing that's beating yourself up, when you're trying to like negative self-talk and everything, that's not going to help you. That's not going to motivate you. It's not going to get you moving forward. If you need to do a little extra self-care to get yourself into a more positive place, physically, mentally, emotionally, then take the time to do that, because not only will you be better off, but everyone else in your family will as well. They appreciate a happier, healthier parent or sibling as much as anybody else. All right. Well, dear listeners, come to the end of this week. I wish you the best of luck in your workouts for the next week. If you want to reach out to us, again, I'm Matt Schifferly of the Red Delta Project, reddeltaproject@gmail.com. And if you want to reach out to Al.
Oh, Al at integratefitness.com. And in the comment section, let's see who's listening to the show. I want to know what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. What is the one? Man. If you could eat it every day and it would actually be healthy for you, but I want to know what everybody's favorite ice cream is.
All right. I get the second vote there on cookies and cream. That's always a favorite of mine as well. So yeah, let us know. What is your favorite ice cream flavor right there? And probably we're going to get a ton of comment debates and back and forth between chocolate and vanilla, but who the hell knows? So, all right, everybody, I'll talk to you next week. Till then, stay strong and lead by example.